Making delicious vegan food doesn't have to take a lot of time, and today I'm going to prove it to you with 3 easy and wholesome make-ahead recipes that are perfect for meal prep or just a busy weeknight. Hey everyone, it's Caitlin and welcome back to another video. If you're new here, I make simple and delicious vegan recipes. So if that sounds appetizing to you, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you can see all of my videos. Like I said in the intro, today I'm showing you 3 easy, veggie-packed, wholesome, hearty, delicious vegan recipes that you can use for meal prep or use on a busy weeknight. So all of these can be made in advance and won't be soggy or not as good when reheated, but they're also pretty straightforward to make, and you could easily make them if you got home from work and you're tired and you have a little bit of time and you want to eat something delicious. First up, we're going to be making some vegan sheet pan fajitas. I love this recipe because it's packed with colorful veggies and has very minimal prep, and the oven does most of the work for you. This recipe is super simple to make, but today I'm going to make it even more delicious because this video is in partnership with Seal Vax. Today I'm going to be using my seasoned seal bundle with the vacuum to help marinate my veggies and give them even more flavor. So I've gone ahead and chopped all of my veggies into long, thin strips, which is how I prefer my fajita vegetables. How most people prefer their fajita vegetables. This full recipe is going to be linked below, so you can always check that out. Normally we would just combine everything on a baking tray and mix it, but today I'm going to add more flavor and add everything into my Seal Vax container. To season our veggies, we have a mix of chili powder, cumin, salt, and garlic powder. I kind of like to mix it together first in a small bowl just because I feel like it gets distributed more evenly that way. But if you don't want to do that, you can just mix it a little more and that's totally fine too. So we're going to add our seasonings in. I'm also going to add some avocado oil, and then we're just going to mix everything together in our container. I love the durable glass material of these seasoned seal containers. Once everything's mixed, you want about 1 inch of space below the top of the container. You line up the seal vacuum to the vacuum circle on the top of the lid, press the button, it's going to turn white while it's working. The compact vacuum has an auto seal feature, so once it's done, you can just take it off, and whatever you're marinating is vacuum sealed in here. You can leave it as long as you like. I love how the vacuum seal reduces the marinade time. The seasoned seal bundle is such a cool way to enhance marinating, so if you want to check it out, maybe add it to your own kitchen, I highly recommend it. I will put the link in the description of this video. So our veggies have been marinating for a bit. I'm just going to release the seal now, then transfer them to a baking tray, and I'm going to bake them on the top rack of the oven until the edges of the peppers are nice and browned. Once the fajita veggies are done roasting, it's sort of a choose your own adventure moment. So in its most simplest form as the recipe is written, I would recommend serving these with some warmed corn tortillas, which is what I am going to do today. The veggies and tofu are seasoned well enough where you can just keep these as is, top with some cilantro and lime, but some avocado is also really good in this as well. Or you could also take the fajita veggies and turn them into grain bowls, maybe with some rice, or put them in a burrito too. It really is up to you. This recipe is also really easy to customize based on whatever veggies you have in the fridge. It may not be as traditional as a Tex-Mex or a Mexican restaurant, but these would still be very delicious with like broccoli or sweet potato. It's a great way to use up odds and ends you have in your pantry as well. Next up, I'm going to show you how to make my chipotle black bean dump and bake casserole. I love dump and bake casseroles for an easy weeknight dinner, but they're also really easy to prep ahead of time for an easy reheat meal throughout the week. So let's get into it. You only need 11 simple and budget-friendly ingredients for this recipe, and I love how all of the flavors come together. So to start, we're going to work on warming up our broth that we're going to use. We're going to add some diced tomatoes, vegetable broth, a chopped chipotle powder in adobo, some garlic powder, and some ground cumin to our pot. Then we're going to whisk all of this together and bring it to a boil on your stovetop. Then in the meantime, we're going to dump everything in a casserole dish, hence the word dump and bake, starting with some sweet potato. Then we'll add some red bell pepper, red onion, chopped cilantro stems, and last but not least, some black beans. I used cans, just make sure they're rinsed and drained. Then you're going to mix everything together and try to spread it out in a pretty even layer. And then we'll sprinkle on our uncooked rice. I'm using brown rice for this recipe, but if you go to my blog, you can see the recipe notes where you can use white rice as well. Then once our liquid comes to a boil, we're going to add it to the casserole, just pour it on top. And here I'm spreading everything out a little more with the spatula to make sure it's all evenly distributed. Once it's evenly mixed, you can cover your casserole. Mine has a lid, but you can also use aluminum foil. And you're going to bake it in the oven in the middle rack for about an hour. And then after an hour, you can uncover and it'll look a little something like this. I like to give everything a good mix just to make sure it's all evenly distributed. And then from here, you're ready to serve and enjoy. You got a complete meal with rice, beans, and veggies. I like to top mine off, like you can see here, with some chipotle mayo, as well as some cilantro and avocado, but you could totally just use avocado. You could use more salsa. You could just eat it as is. It is very delicious that way. Maybe serve it over spinach if you want some extra veggies. But either way, this is a very easy make ahead meal, very little hands-on time, and it reheats super well throughout the week. Last but not least, we're going to be making a cozy white bean stew. I love this recipe, especially during the winter months. It's just so cozy, and it's made from really simple and budget-friendly ingredients that taste delicious when combined, but are also pretty good for you too. I already went ahead and prepped all of our veggies, but before we go to the stove, I just have one note. The recipe does say to dice your celery. Special YouTube note, sometimes I slice it and I don't dice it. Just depends on your personal preference. I like to slice the carrots because it makes the soup a little heartier. So if you like to eat celery like I do, you can also just slice it for a little bit of a heartier bite. Definitely recommend dicing the onion though, because we want that to like dissolve kind of. Start out by warming your olive oil in a large Dutch oven or pot over medium-high heat. Then we're going to add our onion and saute this for about 3 minutes or so until it's translucent, starting to get golden. Then we're going to add in the rest of our mirepoix. So we have carrots and celery, and saute this for a few more minutes. You want to develop some of those brown bits on the bottom of the pan, which is going to add more flavor to our stew. Then after a few minutes, we'll go in with our spices. We have some garlic, some thyme, and a lot of dry spices. We got paprika, cumin, coriander, and black pepper. Add all those in and we'll saute this mixture for about another minute or two until they're nice and fragrant. As you can see, stuff is sticking to the bottom of my pan, but that's okay because now we're going to go in with our beans and vegetable broth. And I recommend using like a wooden spatula or spoon to scrape the bottom of the pan, get all of that flavor in there. Mix everything well. Then you're going to bring this to a boil over high heat. Then you can reduce the heat to medium and simmer for about 20 to 25 minutes. I like to stir every few minutes to help make sure everything is combined and know that nothing's sticking to the bottom of the pan. This is what it looks like. You can see the liquid decreases a lot and it gets nice and thick. And then to finish off our stew, we're going to add a fresh pop of flavor using some lemon zest and lemon juice. This just, I think, makes the soup so delicious, and it's like hearty but also fresh. We're also going to add some chopped parsley to the soup, and I love this because it's made from mostly like budget-friendly beans. You got a few veggies, but the lemon and parsley are very inexpensive, but just make it taste like wholesome and hearty and fresh at the same time. If you want to make the soup last even longer, you could also serve it over rice or with a side of crusty bread. And that brings us to the end of all of our recipes. As always, you can find all of the full recipes linked in the description of this video. They're all written out on my blog, which makes it really easy for you to save them for Pinterest if you want to check them out later, or you can also print the recipe if that's more your vibe as well. Thanks again to Steelvex for sponsoring this video. Be sure to check out their website. It's linked in the description of this video as well. And I do want to note that the Steelvex containers work really well for marinating, but they're also a great way to store your leftovers in the fridge, and they'll last a little bit longer when you use their vacuum seal technology as well. So win-win in my book. That is all from me for today. I hope you all are doing well and having a great start to your year, or if you're watching this later in the year, great start to your weekday. I don't know, whatever's most applicable for you. I hope you're taking care of yourself, and I look forward to seeing you in a future video. Bye.